Hello guys, you're welcome to today's lesson on monopolistic competition. We are still on that theory of the firm, and when we talk about monopolistic competition, we mean a market structure where we have many firms that are selling differentiated products, and they do what we call product branding. They brand their products, they differentiate their products in order to identify them from other different products. We have a situation where firms under monopolistic competition have characteristics. It is a blend of monopoly and perfect competition. We already saw what a monopoly firm is, and we already saw what perfect competition is in the previous lessons. So monopolistic competition is a blend between them, and this concept of monopolistic competition was brought forth by E.H. Chamberlain in 1933 to explain that in the real world situation there is actually no such thing as a pure monopoly. Just very few of them exist, and the ideology of pure monopoly is more imaginary. It is not so realistic. So what is so realistic is monopolistic competition, which acts as a blend between perfect competition and a monopoly firm. And firms under monopolistic competition can easily be identified through their features or characteristics. The first thing is that there is serious competition between these firms. They go into serious, what we call cutthroat competition, very rigorous competition in order to increase their sales and make more profit. Also, firms under monopolistic competition they have a degree of barriers to entry. They have a limited degree of barriers to entry through what? Through expensive advertisement. The publicity is so rigorous and expensive, and only the investors that are viable, that are able to cope with this expensive and extensive advertisement, can join that line of business. Firms under monopolistic competition, most importantly, try to distinguish their goods from others through brand names, through packaging, through trademarks, for which they have licenses and they have monopoly power over those trademarks. We have examples like we have trademarks such as Adidas, Reebok, Nike. All of those trademarks, they fall under monopolistic competition because it is only the author of any of these aforementioned trademarks that has the legal authorization to produce a good and have that label on it. So firms under monopolistic competition, they have their output in the short run where they make abnormal profits. In the long run, they make normal profits because those profits are wiped off. So in the long run, they become marginal firms. So why is it that the equilibrium output situation of firms under monopolistic competition in the short run has them making abnormal profits in the short run? They make abnormal profits in the short run because they are still low-cost firms. And what did we say about low-cost firms? We said that low-cost firms are those businesses operating in their short-run periods, producing at relatively low cost of production, being able to make abnormal profits. Why? Because their capital equipment is still very performant or efficient. It consumes less and produces more. And then we also saw that reasons why firms make abnormal profits in the short run, just like monopolistic competitive firms, is also because there are relatively fewer producers in that industry. Remember, we said there are limited barriers to entry, meaning that if you can match up with the challenge or with the barriers or the expensive cost of advertisement, you are free to join. So in the short run, we still have very few firms or limited firms in the industry, permitting them to sell at relatively high prices since supply doesn't exceed demand at that time, and then they are able to make abnormal profits. And the diagram for a firm under monopolistic competition, its short-run output situation is similar to that of a monopoly. But the only difference is that the average revenue curve is more elastic. That is, there is a more gentle slope in its average revenue curve. And this is how you illustrate the short-run profit maximizing output situation under monopolistic competition. So we have the revenue axis and the output axis. Here we have revenue and cost, and then we have output here. We have our marginal revenue, and then we have average revenue, which is the same as price, and it is also the demand curve of every firm. Now, in order to show that this firm is making abnormal profits, we are going to draw our average cost curve to fall in between the marginal revenue and average revenue curves. And then the lowest point of that average cost curve must be attained when we are still in between AR and MR. Here is it. And then the average cost curve cuts across the average revenue curve when it is already rising. Then we bring in our last curve, which is our marginal cost curve, which should always begin from behind our marginal revenue curve. And remember, we said that the marginal cost curve should always cut across the average cost curve at its technical optimum output, or the lowest point. This is MC. We are done drawing the curves. So it is simple. What we just do now is we are going to determine some four concepts. What output are we going to produce? How much will it charge? How much will it cost us to produce that output? How much price are we going to charge? Will that price permit us to make profit or permit us to make a loss or break even? Let us start with the output. We said that the profit maximizing output of every firm, be it under perfect competition or imperfect competition, is that output level where MR is equal to MC. That is where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. So let's see. This is where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, and the output, the equilibrium output, is determined, QE. And then, what cost will this firm incur? What expense will they incur to produce this output QE? This cost will be determined when this output, this dotted line from the output, touches the average cost curve. And you can see it touches the average cost curve when average cost is still falling. So this is the cost at which this firm will produce this output. Next, what is the price at which that good will be sold? The price sold will also be determined from where this dotted line touches the average revenue curve, because we know that average revenue is the demand curve of the firm, and it is the same as price. So this is the price. Are we making profit, loss, or break even? This will be determined based on the difference between cost and revenue, or cost and price. We can see here that the price that this firm is charging for this output cure is greater than the cost at which this output was produced, which shows that the firm is making abnormal profit because its revenue is greater than cost. So let us do this. Let us put X and Y so that we can better describe what is happening on the diagram. This firm's total revenue is determined by the multiplication of price per unit times output. So we have OP times OQ. That is this firm's total revenue. Or you can say OPX QE. That is the firm's total revenue. So total revenue is equal to OPX QE. And then the total cost is OCY QE. Or you say OC times OQ. Why OC times OQ? Because this C here is gotten from the average cost curve, and average cost is the expense of producing 1 unit of output. So we are looking for total cost. We take the expense of 1 unit times the number of units produced. OC times OQ. OC times OQ. That gives us our total cost. So we see that if we should subtract cost from revenue, it will give us this difference that is denoted by the shaded region here, CPXY, because this is by how much revenue exceeds cost. So our profit, abnormal profit of course, is given by the rectangle CPXY, or the shaded region. So this firm is making abnormal profits in the short run. Now, to determine the profit maximizing output situation of this firm, as I said in the previous lesson, this is very simple. We are just going to judge everything from this output line. So we say that the profit maximizing output situation of this firm is given by MR being equal to MC. That is, at this output, we are just comparing the relationship between these curves, these various curves. At this output level, we see that marginal revenue is meeting with marginal cost at this output level. Then, since we are operating in the short run, we see that average revenue is greater than marginal revenue at this output level. Average revenue is up here, while marginal revenue is right down here. So average revenue is greater than marginal revenue. And then, finally, we realize that at this output level, the firm's average revenue is also greater than its average cost. Average revenue is at point X, while average cost is at point Y. So we see that AR is greater than AC. So if you see this in an exams, know that you are operating under imperfect competition in the short run because the firm is making profit. How do you know that you are operating under imperfect competition? Because AR is not equal to MR. If AR were equal to MR, it would have been under perfect competition. How do you know that we are making profits? Because average revenue is greater than average cost, which means that the income generated from each unit of production or each unit of output is greater than the cost spent to produce each unit. And this is our normal profit maximizing output situation for all firms. So that is how you illustrate the situation of profit maximization under monopolistic competition in the short run. In the next slot, we are going to see the situation of break-even, the long-run situation of firms under monopolistic competition.